Okay, much better. Oh, that's always good. There we go. Okay, so we are going to go live tonight. I did put a poll out about an hour or so ago, and on that I asked if you guys wanted to see Dark Worlds being built and tested, or if you wanted to see Gate Guardian being built and tested, and you guys were pretty split. I think as it currently stands, it's 49% Gate Guardian, 51% Dark Worlds. So yeah, not a lot in it at all, which is going to be interesting. But I thought what I'd do today is I would, put a stream together, do live. If you guys have any questions, I can answer them for you as well. But we will finish off building one of these decks first, do some tests, show you how it plays. Both of these are quite relevant at the moment, to be honest. So Dark World is stirring up quite a bit of a storm on the competitive scene, and Gate Guardian is kind of stirring up a bit of a storm on the local scene. So obviously Dark World is probably a little bit more meta relevant for certain events happening this weekend, or technically next weekend, which would be of course YCS 250th. I would expect you'll probably see a couple of fun Gate Guardian matchups, but you'll also see a lot of Dark World matchups as well. Now the reason that Dark Worlds are so good is a lot of people are focusing on the hand loop play, or the hand loop version, and basically the way they hand loop you is they utilize stuff like wherever he may be, Ceruli, and Ceruli will be in charge of ditching Silver, and then you loop Silver back to the hand, and then you constantly keep doing this. And because Ceruli is technically your opponent activating the effect, you get to make your opponent put 2 cards back from their hand. On top of that, if you add triple tactics into this, you can also then make your opponent look at your opponent's hand. And the worst thing about this is you can actually now play triple tactic thrust in this build, and again, just by giving, you have full control over activating and resolving triple tactics, because you pretty much go, okay, cool, there you go, there's Ceruli, and then you're making them use a monster effect. So you go, okay, cool, you've used the monster effect, activate triple tactics, activate thrust, search out tactics, and you've just got more consistent ways to get to tactics. Activate tactics, look at your opponent's hand, rip the last one from the hand, and then they're playing with 1 card for turn, which is absolutely mental, considering that 1 card has to break the board and then play through what would be a negate in the form of the Grepher Fusion Dragon. So that's why Dark Worlds are now picking up a lot of pace. I see that their weakness is kind of against Cashtira's, because Cashtira's would obviously be going first. They set up a macro, but then that's when you need to adapt the deck to be able to be prepared for something like that. So the deck can naturally already play trade-in. It naturally has outs to certain cards in the form with like Bigfoot and everything else. So it can naturally play Gamma Seal as well, meaning that when you so you've got your Kaiju that can deal with the Rise Heart, and then everything else can start popping off and clearing off the rest of the board. Alternatively, if the format is putting in more than 1 monster on the board, then obviously trading can be utilised with Lava Golem, and you're clearing off 2 monsters instead of 1 as well. It just depends on the environment, and this is the one thing that is probably a little bit... This is where the question comes into it, is, again, you don't know if you're going to be facing heavy front row decks, and what I mean by that is you don't know if a lot of people are going to be playing into Nibiru territory, or if they're going to be playing cautiously because of Nibiru, and Lava Golem, Brass Fear Mode, stuff like that. But now I feel that a lot of people are also main decking Kaijus. It kind of begs the question of, do you play it safe, get Kaiju, that's it, that's your only form of interruption, gone? Or do you play aggressive? If they have Nib, they have Nib. You need to be able to adapt to play through it, negate it, or of course be able to still maintain board presence. So that's one way of kind of looking at it. The other cards you need to be aware of is if you're going to an event that has a lot of control-based decks, then you're in a bit of a sticky situation, because control-based decks will, of course, they can play around the Kaijus, the Lava Golems, everything like that, and they can also then set up floodgates, which is probably one of the most annoying things in the game, but are completely understandable. Otherwise, combo decks will just run rampant. So, anyway, I'm going to just double check the poll as it is now 4 minutes past 8. I'm going to be doing this till about 9 o'clock. Like I said, if you do have any questions, put them in the live chat and I will be very happy to answer them for you. Okay, so it's currently 51% to Dark Worlds and 49% to Gate Guardian. So we will do testings with Dark Worlds. Now, the way I've got this built at the moment does involve Fabled Raven. That's not the common use of this deck. A lot of people will probably be taking that out. And when you're taking out Fabled Raven, obviously, the reason I put it in here is I quite like the synchro-orientated routes and plays, but you'd usually take out Fabled Raven and then you're going to be utilising other cards as well. So let's get rid of those. Let me, because like I said, we're going to build this and play this at the same time. Where are, there we go. So this is currently a 30 card deck here, so which means we need to find another 10 cards to add to it. Once I've done that, I can then start bringing together the extra deck, but I'm not really going to be so rigid on the extra deck. The extra deck can be utilised to be pretty much anything, so I'm just going to try and find the stack of sleeves that match the rest of this, and then kind of build off the back of there we go, there they are. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. So there's our 10 spaces that we need to fulfill. I'm going to do it with probably Lava Golem in mind. I feel that Lava Golem is just kind of like that middle ground. The deck doesn't need to heavily rely on its normal summon at all. So let's go with 2 Lava Golem. Dark Worlds don't usually like to be playing a lot of hand traps. They quite like to be very aggressive. Like going first, they want to be able to open up all their combo pieces. They want to be able to push forward and present a very difficult board for them to build. Me personally, if I'm going to play this, I would very much like to play a very aggressive go second build. So Fruity TCG, I heard there was a deck testing happening and it came to cause problems like unbanning Graceful, and you came to cause problems like unbanning Graceful Charity. Yeah, Graceful Charity is just a nuts card, absolutely insane. Okay, so what should the missing 10 cards be? Probably want to play it as second silver if you're going to rely on the hand loop of this particular type of deck, and you definitely want to be playing some board breaking cards. So the board breaking card that I'm going to be playing would be access to 2 if not 3 Lava Golems, and then wherever I have put them, I'm also going to be putting in Book of Eclipse. I feel Book of Eclipse right now is the better all-round board controlling card. And what I mean by that is people can play around the Biru. The only way they play around an Eclipse is if they expect it, they will hold back an Ash Blossom. But I feel a lot of people aren't expecting it in the main deck. You can also play Bystils in the deck as well, which I think is quite funny, really. So, yeah, once I've found the missing pieces. Do you want Kaijus? I suppose you kind of do want Kaijus, really. Just going to go with Gandala for now. I mean, you're either going Kaijus or you're going Kaijus or Lava Golems. You know, they're both level 8s. They're both to kind of do the same job, clear some cards off. So we'll add that to it. There we go. Trying to think what else I've got around me. Let's have a look. And there's Brow. I'm not a fan of Brow. I mean, the deck can still be very, very frightening because the deck can still drop. I still really quite like Luna, so I suppose I'm actually going to add Luna in here in place, because if I'm going to run Gadala, I can very easily run Luna and it's not going to cause me any issues. So, and the reason I quite like Luna is it searches out a second copy of itself, so you're going to replace the advantage you have in your hand. And then on top of that as well, it also helps you bounce back. Now, obviously, it means they would have to send a Shangri-La, but I don't believe they can actually send anything. Okay, so there's those. The other card I want to add is Book of Eclipse, which is in a stack of cards somewhere nearby, hopefully. I'm also going to grab these here. So these are all my side deck cards. So, Hope Harvinger's definitely a good one. Saruja, Degeres, Greffa, there we go. Oh well, Gauze is only if you use that. Cross Sheep, Giant Trainer, because why not? Zelantis, second one of the Greffas. Paguska, still very damaging and painful. Okay, so we've got a nice little mini extra deck going there as well. Nice and easy. The Micro Pearly Core in the last 10 slots, Pearly Water. I've not actually ever played any of the Pearlies, so I have no idea how they play, how they operate, or anything like that. It's just not really a deck that's appealed to me, and I'm not really going to go out of my way to get the Pearlies at the level that they're at. So, just trying to find the last 6 cards for the deck. I mean, you can very easily play a second Ceruli. You can play more in here as well. Let me just double check. What have I got? Okay, we got that. We got one of those. I've only got one of those now. I've got 2 of those, which is fine. I've got rank 4 plays. Ceruli can quite easily be doubled up. Luna's in there as well, which instigates the rank 4 plays. Obviously you want Appaloosa. Okay, fine. Okay. Let's shuffle this up and we'll add this final 6 cards. I mean, what I'll probably do is I can probably do this till about 1/2 and I can switch over to Gate Guardian if we want to as well. So. I just found a second Ceruli actually. I'm going to add a second Ceruli. I mean, actually no, let's leave it at 1. Like, I don't want to go for a massive hand loop all the time anyway. Allure. Yeah, that's what I wanted to check. How many Allure have I got in here, if any? Uh-oh, no Allures. There you go, that'll definitely take up some spaces. Allure. You can tell that I was fully prepared for this one. I was just saying that I was like, you know what, I've got a bit of time. Let's talk about 2 of the decks that I really enjoyed but haven't had a chance to fully play at current. And that was Dark Worlds and something that I'm enjoying in the form of Gate Guardian. There we go, there's my Book of Eclipses. So I had 2 of those in. I'm still going to play Astral Kuriboh. I still like it. A lot of people don't like it because they don't understand how it helps them, but hopefully through these test ends you'll see how Astral Kuriboh can help extend your plays quite a bit. So there's 3 there, which means we can move those out, and then we've got 1, 2, 3. Especially if you're going second as well, that's what makes this deck so much stronger. And it's all about kind of trying to play through the cash board. Notice if they go 5 zone lock, then you're kind of in a little bit of trouble, but you can't take that risk that your Lava Golem or your added Kaijus are going to do the job for you. Anyway, bit of a warm up on that one. Let's shuffle these up after a very decent shuffle. They are in order, so hence the in-depth shuffle. And these sleeves have always been double sleeves, so they're very nice and smooth. Okay, let's move Gate Guardian out of the way for later. There's our deck. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's an interesting hand. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Like going first, going second, it really doesn't make too much of a difference because you know, the 6th card would be trading, so we just get a bit more draw. Like if you go second with this hand, you've obviously got Godala, which deals with the strongest monster, or if this is going to be your Lava Golem, you deal with their 2 strongest. You don't need to worry about your normal summon because you've got 2 dangers that will start to trigger to get these to the graveyard. Obviously trading would be a little bit redundant because you wouldn't be able to use it because you would have got rid of your own level 8, but then it still becomes free discard fodder. So On this one, I'm going to reveal Nessie, because if it gets discarded, it's not the end of the world. 2 hits a Nessie, which is just, this is where it becomes the luck of the draw on this stuff. So Nessie's effect will resolve, searching you out another danger. So we'll go with Jackalope, because then at least that will guarantee to give me a monster on the board. Let's reveal Mothman on this one. So 1 to 5 again, as always. 6 reroll. 5 hit the Jackalope. Jesus, these aren't going well. So Mothman would summon. We would draw 1 card. Jackalope's effect would trigger, which would summon 1 from the deck. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because you've pretty much gone through all of the targets you want to be hitting, like you want to be getting to your graveyard, which is a bit of annoyance, but this is where you're now going to be able to control what you trigger. So you summon out Mothman off of the back of Jackalope, shuffle this up, and these are one of these ones where like, yeah, these are one of the ones where you kind of have to make your own luck on this one. So because you've hit both of your danger reveals, you'll overlay these. You'll go into Daguerre's. You're going to use Daguerre's effect, detach 2, draw 2, ditch 2. So we draw a trade in, and we draw a Grapha, which is absolutely fine. And then the 2 we're going to discard is we're going to discard the Cerulli and the Rainbow. Both of these effects will trigger as they're discarded as effects. So Cerulli would go to your opponent's field, Rainbow would then make you search. So obviously you check this one, let me just double check. When this card is special summoned by the effect of Dark World, so it has to be a when. So you need to be Chain it 1 Cerulli, Chain it 2 Rainbow. Rainbow's effect would resolve, and we will get ourselves a gold. We would have gone for silver if we hadn't already got it. Cerulli goes to our opponent's side of the board. There we go. Cerulli's effect will then trigger to make you discard Dark World, so we're going to discard silver. That will make our opponent lose 2 cards from their hand, so their opening hand of 5 is now opening hand of 3. You'll then get to trigger silver's effect, which will let you summon it back, and then you also have the ability to add silver back to the hand for Rainbow. You're now in a good position as well, because you can activate Trade-In, and Trade-In will let you get rid of the Greffa, which will let you draw 2 more cards. Oh, broken, very nice. And then because you've done that, you then get to add the Rainbow back to the hand and summon back the Greffa. Now, obviously, you can't trigger Greffa's effects. It's discarded as cost off a trade-in, which is big sad, but it works it as it is. Then we're going to use Genta's effect. You're going to discard this. You're going to search out the Gates of the Dark World, which is awesome because we're going to be able to trigger even more effects. You're then going to use Gate of the Dark World effect. This is going to allow you to banish the Genta and discard the Rainbow and draw 1 card. Ascension, nice. You then get to resolve Genta's effect because it was banished, and you also get to resolve Rainbow's effect as well. So Rainbow is going to allow you to search out a level 5 or lower except himself. So our options that are left in the deck is going to be Greffa, which is absolutely fine. It is a Pokemon counter, yeah, I quite like them. You can then return Genta to the hand for your Rainbow, and then you get to activate Genta again because you can only special summon him once per turn, but you can actually search out Gate of the Dark World as many times as you want. So you'll activate another Gate and shuffle this up. You use Gate's effect to banish a Fiend and draw a card. So we will banish our only target being Genta, and you can discard Greffa to pop the Cerulli, but if we're up against Cashtiers, you kind of want to leave that on their board. So I'm going to discard Gold and draw a card. Gold's effect will resolve, summon itself back to the board. I've got a very nice ability to go normal summon Luna. Luna's effect will then trigger. This will then allow me to search out another copy of itself. And then this is where Luna gets quite fun, is Luna has the ability to target face-up monster your opponent controls. Your opponent can send 1 card with that monster's name from the deck or extra to the graveyard to negate the effect, otherwise return it, both this card and that monster, to the hand. So you use Luna's effect to target the Cerulli, and because they don't have a Cerulli unless you're in the mirror match, it returns the Cerulli and the Luna back to your hand. So like, look how stacked your hand is, and I can hand loop my opponent for another 2 cards, which is absolutely mental. So if I want to go that little bit further, I can actually get the Rainbow back to my hand as well, which is pretty nuts. So let's get these 2 to the graveyard. Those 2 can go for anything really. Like, you can go for a rank 8 if you want to, but I don't think you... Actually, I think there's a better way. I can do this so much. I'm just going to show you this on how bad, like how much I'm going to draw, how much advantage I'm going to end my board with, and how very little my opponent's going to have. So let's activate Ascension. Ascension will let me discard a card and or discard 2 cards. So I'm going to discard the Greffa and the Ceruli, right? These will let me go into the Greffa Fusion. Now, the issue is I won't be able to bring back the silver that I'm about to activate, because you could put this in the extra monster zone, but you probably don't want to. Like, it wants to be in the main monster zone. Ah, I know what I should have done. Hold these back. There we go. I figured it out now. So you put Rainbow and you put Greffa in the graveyard, and you go for Cross Sheep. Keeping in mind that these 3 tokens here are going to represent how many cards our opponent has left in their hand. We've already looped them for 2, right? So we link into Cross Sheep. You then use Cross Sheep's effect to return... not Cross Sheep's effect, sorry. Use Rainbow's effect to return gold to the hand. You then use Greffa's effect to return Rainbow to the hand. So your hand is like fat stacked now. Like absolutely mental. So then what you do is you activate Ascension. Ascension will then discard your Ceruli and your Greffa, because it has to use Greffa. Put those to the graveyard. Summon out the Greffa. Now on these chains, again, you'll go Chain Link 1 Ceruli, Chain Link 2 will be Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep will bring back Mothman, because it's a level 4, and we will then use Ceruli to send to our opponent's side of the field. Ceruli's effect will then trigger, discarding the silver that you've looped back to the hand, using silver's effect to remove 2 more cards from our opponent's hand, or our opponent will put 2 more cards back. You'll then use silver's effect to summon itself back to the board, and this is what your board currently looks like. You can then use the effect of any of the cards in the hand to add the Ascension back, but I'm going to wait on that because we're going to be able to push that bit further. So now what you want to do here, once I find it, is you're going to want to link up into an Appaloosa, which is absolutely fine because that's just going to give you another very, very powerful link monster to be sitting behind. Da, 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 da. I do have it somewhere, just got to find it. I think it's in here. Is it in here? Appaloosa. It must be in there. Yeah, there we go. Appaloosa. So then what you want to do here is you want to link, you can link Greffa to the graveyard, Cross Sheep to the graveyard, and Daguerreo's to the graveyard, and that can go into a 3 negate Appaloosa. So 3 negate Appaloosa. You've then got the ability to return your silver back to the hand and go for another Greffa to the board. Put in defense, put in attack, doesn't really make much of a difference. And then you can use the effect of the Accession in the graveyard to discard either gold, or you can discard your silver, depending if you want to loop your opponent for another 2 more cards. But they won't have 2 cards in their hand actually the next time we do it. So we'll ditch this, we'll add back the Accession. Silver's effect will trigger, summon itself back to the board, and then it's entirely up to you on how you want to continue making your plays. Like, you can very easily go into an IP, you can very easily go into a Muckrucker and then use Muckrucker's effect if you want to start getting you more fiends to the board. It is really up to you on how deep you want to go down this rabbit hole. So yeah, let's put those there as well. 100% will need to respect this deck with Drolls and Shifters. Yeah, this deck is mental. So let's say we link those 2 together, we'll go into an IP, and then you can set the Eclipse, not that you'll need to really worry about it too much, and then pass your opponent's turn. So yes, your opponent has a Ceruli on the board, but they got 1 card in the hand. They're going to draw 1 card for turn. So our opponent is playing with 1 card in, 2 cards in the hand, right? The first thing they activate, if it's a spell, trap, or anything, unless it's Dark Ruler no more, is going to get negated by Greffa. In doing so, you can do a double search off of the back of the rainbow, or a search and a summon off the back of the rainbow. So that's option number 1. You do also have the ability of ditching the gold. Now, by ditching the gold, you get to target up to 2 cards your opponent controls. So you target the Ceruli and destroy that if you think that giving them a monster is going to be dangerous. If that's not an issue, you've also then still got the ability of linking these together and going into a Nightmare Unicorn. You can use Nightmare Unicorn's effect. You can discard any of the cards that you want to. So discard the Luna, spin the Ceruli back to your deck, And then you still, even if they do, let's say their first card they play is a Dark Lord no more and turns this entire board off, you still have the Accession that can then tag out and bring out a second Grepher Dragon. Like, it's crazy. So not only did they lose pretty much their entire hand and get fully looped, but you're still able to produce these insane end boards as well, which is what I loved about this deck. Now, the biggest issue is going second against a Kashtira matchup can be very tricky, because instantly, if you can't get rid of or negate the Rise Heart, everything's going to get banished. Which isn't necessarily the end of the world for something like the Dangers, because Dangers don't care if they get banished or if they go to the graveyard, they just need to be discarded. So if you do discard and it gets banished on the Bigfoot, it will still target a face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it. That's also where Thunderbird comes into play, because you can activate Book of Eclipse, Book of Moon everything, or set everything face down, and then obviously at that point, playing something like a Thunderbird will be more effective for you than playing the Bigfoot, because everything will be face down and set. It won't have non-target protection or anything like that, which is what makes it very, very powerful. So we'll shuffle this up, we'll do another test down going first, and then we'll do one going second, so you can kind of see the aggression and the defense of this deck. So another decent shuffle, and a cut will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is definitely a more interesting option on this one. Now, we've definitely got a Fiend that can be discarded off of the back of the Genta if we want it to. The biggest issue that we have here is, yes, Genta can be discarded to search us out Gates. We can then activate Gates, banishing the Genta, discarding the Astral Karibo. We would lose the Astral Karibo, we would gain the Genta, and then the random draw that we would need. So this isn't the most ideal hand, but it is definitely something you can look for. The worst case scenario, or another scenario, is you've got the ability to special out Mothman, and then special summon down the Karibo, and kind of go from there. So it depends whether you want to risk it. The only card that I probably wouldn't want to lose in this entire hand is probably the Genta, but we'll risk it anyway. So we'll go 1 to 5. If anything like our last ones, we're probably going to hit Mothman. We didn't hit Mothman, we hit the Genta, which is just as annoying because we've now traded a draw for a draw. Okay, it's not that bad. That's actually fixed it a little bit. Activate Dark World. Dark World's effect will banish the Genta, discarding the Rainbow. This will let us draw a card. You then get to trigger the effect of Genta and the effect of Rainbow. So Rainbow will let you search out a level 5 or low, level 5 or higher. Sorry. So probably going to go for Silver, just so I've got the hand loop capabilities ready to go. You've now also got the ability to add the Genta back to the hand and bring back the Rainbow, and then use the effect of Genta, discarding this to search you out another Gate of the Dark World. You'll activate the second Gate of the Dark World, and then you might as well use the ability to discard Snow and banish Genta. This will allow you to draw one card, and then Snow's effect will go off, allowing you to search out any Dark World card that you wish. So I'm probably going to search out Ceruli so we can get the hand loop going. You already control a Dark World, so your Dark World Archives is well and truly live, which is absolutely fine. So the only thing we're missing is the Grepher at this moment in time. So we're going to activate the Dark World Archives, which a lot of people don't play, but I quite like it. And why I like it is you can use the effect of Dark World Archives to discard your Ceruli, increasing your Rainbow by 100. This will then not only trigger Ceruli's effect, but it will also trigger the Dark World Archives effect as well if you want to. I'm going to save that until I've resolved the effect of Ceruli, because the Ceruli is going to allow me to hand loop. All you need to be able to do with this off the back of this is have the ability to discard. You have to discard first before you draw. So you've definitely got a lot of different plays that you can do. So that's one way of doing it. If we hold back the Ceruli, what gives you an additional bonus, and this is where Astral Karibo comes into play, is you can use Astral Karibo, revealing the Daguerres, making it a level 4. You overlay these two into the rank 4 of Daguerres. You then use Daguerres' effect to detach 2 materials, to draw 2 and ditch 2. At this point, I'm probably going to ditch the Ceruli. I don't really want to ditch the Silver, because the Silver is going to give me that ability a little bit later on. Sorry, it's just discard one card. I don't know why I thought it was discard 2 cards. So we'll discard the Ceruli. You then trigger Ceruli's effect, which will summon itself back to the board, and then it will make you discard a card, which will be your Silver. This will discard the card, looping your opponent's hand for 2, so they've lost 2 counters. So they've only got 3 cards currently in their hand at this moment in time. Then you'll get the ability of silver to summon itself back to the board. Now to loop your hand back a little bit more, you want to link these guys off. If you want to, you do have the ability of the archives because you did discard, but we can save that. There is no need to use it right away. We'll also in the Luna, we'll use Luna's effect first to search out a second copy of herself, and then you use Luna's effect to return the Cerulei back to your hand. You've now got the capabilities, if you want to go into a Cerulei Skuldred. It is entirely up to you on how you want to play it. Personally, I probably want to kind of get the rainbow off the board so that I can loop the silver back to the hand and then still maintain a lot of hand advantage. And I still have the ability of archives, and by doing so, I'm maintaining as much resource as possible. So let's say we go for something like, let's keep it simple. Let's go cross sheep with these two. Keeping in mind, our opponent still has 3 cards in hand, so if they've got anything like a Nibiru, they're probably going to hold on to it, but if you're able to still loop their hand, it really doesn't make much of a difference anyway. You then return the silver to the hand to summon back the rainbow, which isn't an activated effect, which can be very, very damaging. So then you now have the ability again still to use the archives, and the archives then let you discard and then draw, which is really, really cool, but you still need to have that 1 card to discard. Discard from the hand by the card effect, discard 1 card and draw 2 cards. So it doesn't need to be anything specific, which is absolutely fine actually. So now we'll use the Cerulei's effect. The Cerulei effect will boost this by 100. We'll then be able to use chaining 1 Cerulei, chaining 2 Dark World Archives. Archives will make us discard a card to draw 2, so we'll discard the backup Luna to draw 2. Cerulei's effect will then trigger to summon itself back to your opponent's board. Cerulei's effect will then allow you to discard the silver. This will then loop your opponent for another 2 more cards, so they only have 1 card left in their hand to play. You'll then get Silver's effect to summon itself back to the board, and the only thing we're missing right now is the access to a Grepher. So we're going to activate trading, get rid of the Kaiju because you don't really need it right now, and draw 2 more cards, one being another Astral Kuriboh and a Book of Eclipse. So we haven't been able to kind of push into everything we need, which isn't the end of the world, because if you still want to push and you still want to dig, you still have the ability to go, you know what, okay, we'll just do it all 4 of these and go into Cerulei. Now this is not something you have to do, this is just an option that if you do find yourself in a position like this, you can do it. You also have the ability in this scenario, you could have gone into the Mutrocker and played a different play that way as well. So for Skuldred, we're going to draw 4 and put 3 back. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's all of the Dark World, the dangers. And we're going to put 3 back, so we're going to put 1, I'm going to keep that just in case, 2 and 3. So put those 3 back to the bottom of the deck. Now keeping in mind as well, Skuldred has the ability to special summon a monster from the hand, which is absolutely fine. But we're going to risk everything we've got here. There's not really anything to worry about too much. So then what we'll do is we'll reveal Danger Sukanoko. So 1 to 5. 4, we hit the Jackalope, which isn't the greatest, but isn't the end of the world. Draw off of the back of Sukanoko. Okay, cool. Jackalope's effect will trigger, and off the back of the Jackalope effect, I'm going to get a level 8 to the board because I'm going to try and play and go into the Coach King route. So we'll shuffle this up again as well because we're going to activate trading. We're going to ditch the rainbow. We're going to draw 2 cards. Okay, that's fine. We've already special Genta, so annoyingly Genta is the only one off of Skuldred that we can't summon. Big sad off of the back of that. But we'll activate the Danger Mothman, so we'll go 1 to 4, 5, 6 will be a reroll. 3, hit the Mothman. Effect of Mothman, both players will draw 1 and discard 1. What is it? Go away. When it rains, it pours. I suppose if I discard the Genta, at least I'll still have the Astral Kuriboh. Okay, I guess we're going to have to go at this a different route then. So let's go for the Mutrocker. So we use Bigfoot and Sukanoko because it just needs 2 effect monsters. Go into Mutrocker. Use Mutrocker's effect. We'll discard the Astral Kuriboh and we will revive a Fiend monster from the graveyard. So we will revive Silver. Silver or Snow? Yeah, Silver. And then we'll add the Silver back to the hand for Rainbow. I mean, it's not ideal. Like, you would have much rather this been a lot more effective for the kind of board. But again, your opponent only has 1 card in their hand. So we're locked into Fiends at this moment in time. But they still need to try and break this board with only 1 card. So set the Eclipse, past your opponent. Your opponent draws for turn. They now have 2 cards to play and try and beat this board with. Now, obviously, one of them cards can be summoned and they can try and link off with the Ceruli and kind of push their plays that way. If they normal summon or commit a monster to the board, you can play Book of Eclipse. The only thing you're going to lose is 1, and they're going to lose their 2 monsters they've got on the board. Yes, they can still attempt to flip the Ceruli, I believe. No, not after Eclipse, but so now I have 2 locked, and now I only have 1 more card to play with. So unless that one card is like the absolute amazing, then they're going to struggle quite a bit. Is this a public deck list that you are running? How do you mean? Like, this is a deck list I've put a couple of different changes to it as of recent, but the kind of skeleton is pretty much the same as quite a few that are on the channel. So like, this is the Astral Karibo like go second OTK route, but I'm also showing how the deck can hand loop in the test stands, and it's hand looped in both test stands that we've done so far. What are we now? We're at half 8. So I'll tell you what, let's do a 3rd test stand going first. See if we can, touch wood, complete that 3rd test loop hand, and then we'll go 2nd as well. So we're going to shuffle this up again, and we'll go for another decent cut. And even that was like, it wasn't with the best of hands either, actually. It was like Astral Karibo, Genta, Gates, Ascension, and 1 Danger, I think. So, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this hand is nice. Oh, I like this hand. So we're going to use Genta's effect. Genta effect will allow you to search out Gate of the Dark World, activate the gate, use Gate's effect, banish the Genta. Tech cards are Astral Karibo, I quite like that, and a couple of others. So Genta's effect, ditching the rainbow, because the rainbow will give us access to silver. Resolve these, this will summon, this effect will search us out silver. There we go. So now we're going to start the hand loop. So our opponent's cards of 5 are going to stack right there. No Salamander, no Raven in this version, but obviously it's Fairy Tail over Raven. And the reason for the Fairy Tail is when you give them Ceruli, you can normal summon it and then bounce the Ceruli back to your hand. And then if you've got another way to discard it, you're basically looping your opponent again for those 4 cards. So it just increases the consistency. And Luna is a very good card for going 2nd, because you can use Luna's effect to try and bounce back a troublesome card in the form of less so Fenrir, but more so something like the Rise Heart and Shangri-La as well. Okay, so this is what a hand currently looks like. You can then use Rainbow to put your Genta back in the hand. You're going to use Genta's effect now, because if you're going to activate trading, you don't really want to be drawing into the Gate of the Dark World. So you're going to do that. You're going to shuffle this up to give you maximum hand advantage, because then what you're going to do here is you're going to activate trading. You're going to get rid of the Grepher. You're going to draw 2 more cards. Then you're going to be able to activate the 2nd Gate of the Dark World. This is going to allow you to banish the Genta. And in this scenario, you want to discard the Ceruli. So you'll draw 1 more card. Ceruli's effect will trigger. This will then go to your opponent's side of the field. It will trigger the effect of Ceruli to make you discard silver. This will then allow you to summon back silver and then use silver's effect to loop your opponent for 2. So they now only have 3 cards left in their hand. Now with a hand like this, what you then have the additional ability for is you can bounce the silver back to the hand and summon back the Grepher. Now this is where I really like the Astral Karibo, because it does lock you into numbers, but it does give you the ability to go into any rank 8 numbers you might want to play. So something like Hope Harbinger. If you're going for the aggression play, you've also got Dracula Bond and everything else. You can do the bounce with the Magician Link too. The issue that a lot of people don't like playing the Akashic, that's not the reason you play Luna. So Luna, you have so many different options with Luna. So you don't commit your normal summon. So you've got the option to play something like Luna. Luna can not only can it bounce the Ceruli, but it can bounce one of your opponent's monsters as a quick effect during your opponent's turn. So it is a form of disruption. It's a card that can be used to go 2nd to bounce one of their cards as well. The reason that people don't like playing the Akashic Magician is because the Akashic Magician needs, I believe it's 2 monsters. Let me just double check it. I think it's 2 monsters with different types and attributes. Try to find where it is. Let's just double check it on here. It is Magician. I mean, that's not the only reason I'm playing Luna. That's what I'm saying. It's like, if it was the only reason I played Luna, then yes, it's 2 monsters with the same type except tokens. So see, you can use 2 Dark Worlds. You can then try and bounce a Ceruli. It's definitely doable. But with the Luna, it just gave me a lot of options. It's like, it's not as if I'm playing one and not the other. It's one of the ones where I feel Luna gives you quite a lot. So it's an additional card you can play to give you a lot of advantage. So with this particular hand here, you've still got a very nice kind of route of play because you can actually activate the archives. And if you want to, you can use Archives Effect, and that will let you ditch and then draw. Now, what I would ideally prefer is have a level 4 on the board just to give me that little bit further. But it kind of gives you a couple of different options. So, yeah, the Astral Karibo can become a level 8, and then this gives you rank 8 plays. I'm trying to think how I want to get the most advantage. Like, our opponent's only been looped for 2. I want to loop them again for another 2, which is well and truly doable. Do I need to search off the rainbow? I don't believe I do. Do I want to summon back the silver? I can do. The question is, where will that take me? Let's go with a gold. I want to trigger the draws and discard. So we'll ditch the gold off of the back of Archives, boost both of these by 500. Gold's effect will trigger as well with the Archives. So the Archives just need you to be able to discard a card to draw a card. So we'll discard the rainbow, we'll draw 2. That's exactly what we wanted actually. Rainbow's effect will then trigger to search you out a level 8 or lower, or a level 5 to level 8 basically, which will be our Greffa Dragon. So we've now got 2 Greffas in circulation, so that if they banish one of them, we still have plays to make. And we've got a full hand of 5. You can then increase that by returning this to the hand for the rainbow, and this is how you're going to get your 3 level 8s to the board. Now obviously we're going first, so you don't care about not having a battle phase, which means you can very easily go for your Coach King. We're going to use this 3 times, and every time you reveal a monster, you burn your opponent for 800. So reveal 3 of those, so we go 1, burn, 2, no burn, 3, burn, so broken. So then this is our hand, again very very nice. We're going to normal summon Luna. Luna's effect will resolve to search a second copy of itself. There we go. Luna's effect to return the Ceruli to the hand. And then this hand is pretty stacked. Just to make sure we're covered by everything, I might as well activate Ascension. We'll discard the Greffa, we'll discard the Ceruli. This will then allow us to go into the Greffa Dragon. This will go to the graveyard. Ceruli's effect will then trigger. This will then summon back the Ceruli. Ceruli's second effect will then make you discard a card, which will be the silver. You'll then rip 2 more, or your opponent will send 2 more cards back to their deck. Silver's effect will trigger to summon itself back to the board. If I want to draw and search even more, I can use Astral Karibo, making it a level 4, and overlay... Oh, sorry, the Luna's actually back in the hand, so ignore that. We won't be doing the Astral Karibo play. So our hand is this, which is still pretty fat and stacked. And then you can start using the danger effects, start doing whatever you want to. So with the dangers, obviously I've only got a die that goes up to 6, so I don't know. 1 to 6, 5. So we'll hit a Luna. Doesn't really make much of a difference. Summon down Mothman. There we go. Mothman would draw 1. Genta, which is absolutely fine. Now you can use the Astral Karibo, make it level 4, overlay these into Daguerres, use Daguerres' effect to draw 2, ditch 1. Book of Eclipse and Snow, ditch the Snow. Snow's effect will then trigger the search, so she can search you out any kind of Dark World you're missing that you might want. So I'm going to go for another Rainbow. We can then use the effect of Session in the graveyard to discard gold. Gold will summon itself to the board. There we go. And then what you want to do here is you want to return gold to the hand for Rainbow. And then you return this Rainbow to the hand for Greffa. And then you return this silver to the hand for Rainbow. You return this Rainbow to the hand for another Greffa. Now you can overlay these 2 in a Hope Harbinger. I wouldn't advise it because if you do that, you're not going to have a level 8 or a Greffa in the graveyard to utilise the effect. So what you probably want to do here, you probably want to go 1, 2. Could go into Cross Sheep if you want to. It's not really a big issue. So they've only got 1 card in the hand, so let's go Cross Sheep for now. Is there a way that we can trigger to get a special on the board? Probably can, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, you can very easily set this and activate your danger. The danger will trigger, and then by discarding like whether you discard the danger or summon the danger, it will trigger Cross Sheep to summon back. And before people go crazy, Cross Sheep triggers when a monster is special summoned to a zone it points to, and it will trigger its effects depending on what it points to. So because it points to the fusion, it will bring one back from the graveyard. So let's say we successfully resolve the Jackalope. It doesn't matter whether we resolve it or we don't. Doesn't make much of a difference. So I won't take the draw. It will trigger Cross Sheep's effect to let you summon back from the graveyard. So you summon back Snow. And then in doing so, what you've got the ability for, if you want to, is you can loop all of these together. It's just overkill, but there's just no way your opponent plays through this. Appaloosa with 4 negates. So you've got this, and this. Trying to think, we could have looped back some more resource if we wanted to, because we've got the Greffers in the hand. We could have, you know, used Greffers to bounce everything up. Did I use 2 Greffers for that? I did use 2 Greffers for that. So let's put 1 Greffer back and let's use the Cross Sheep. There we go. Fix that quite quickly. Yeah, and I mean, like, you're in a great position now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got too many cards in the hand. We will need to get rid of one of them. It's not the end of the world on that. But ultimately, passing to your opponent's turn, you've got your opponent draws for turn. They've got 2 cards in their hand, right? Plus a Cerulea on the board. You've got Book of Eclipse, which will affect these 3 monsters here. So you don't want to do it until you've used the negate of the Overlord, and you only want to use it if you're in dire need to do so. Other than that, you've got, so let's say out of their 2 cards in hand, one of them's Dark Rule and No More, right? So they burn the Dark Rule and No More. They turn off Appaloosa, they turn off this, and you still got the Greffer. You still then get to activate a session. A session will then allow you to banish the Greffer if you want to, or you can do it a different way. It doesn't really make much of a difference. And you can discard any of the cards in your hand. Personally, I'm probably going to discard the Silver because they no longer have 2 cards in their hand, so I'm not going to be able to guarantee a loop for it. This will then allow me to not only summon back the Silver, but also summon a second copy of the Greffer Fusion. And obviously, these are negated, these 2 aren't. So I've then got the ability, so let's say their last card in the hand is anything, doesn't matter what it is, they activate it. I straight away use the Greffer that isn't negated, discard whatever I want, whether it be a silver, whether it be a rainbow, it could even be a gold. I will then use Gold's effect. Gold's effect will destroy the Cerulea and it will summon itself back. So I've burnt through all of their resource. We'll come back to my turn. These are now unnegated, but of course Appaloosa will not gain its counters back, and they've got no cards to play with. So I'm then able to switch this to attack. These are all going to be buffed as they're all fiends by an additional 300, and that is going to guarantee you in for a game. Okay, so now let's start going second. There's 13 minutes left. We'll probably get away with doing 1 or 2, depending on those depending on how those hands are. So there's the Cross Sheep. There's those. Clear those out quite quickly and go from there. So that's those, and then let's start going second. So this is where, of course, the kaiju is going to come in quite important. This is where trading going into Danger Bigfoot is going to be important as well. So, I mean, you can make the assumption that we're under the Arise Heart and maybe a Big Bang, which is absolutely fine because your goal, whether they've got Big Bang or not, is to still get rid of that one Rise Heart. So, again, after another decent shuffle and a good old cut, there we go. Going second will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 for turn. Okay, so it entirely depends on what you're up against. Now, if you're up against Kashtiri's, you can't use the Gentas because they have to go to the graveyard as cost. So what that then results back onto is it does mean you need to activate the Bigfoot. However, should you activate the Bigfoot and it resolves or gets discarded, whether it gets discarded or banished, it will then pop one of the cards. So you want to be hitting the Bigfoot, ideally, off of the back of this. But if it doesn't and it still summons and you discard something else, again, it's still not the end of the world because it will then still be able to give you that ability to try and run over that Rise Heart. So hit the 2, which is the Rainbow, which is a big sag. It's probably one you don't want to be hitting, but you still play it out as you do. Bigfoot effect triggers to draw 1. Okay, absolutely fine. This is where if you play the if you play the number engine that I showed you guys before, which is Numeron Dragon and Dragulabon, that's when you literally just go, okay, cool, Astral Karibo, summon itself down, make it a level 8, overlay these two, go into the Dragulabon. Dragulabon's effect goes into a 9k dragon. The 9k dragon then kills the Rise Heart, and then you're pushing through from there. As soon as the Rise Heart is dead, whether you go into the Dragulabon or not, as long as you can get past that Rise Heart, you've then got the ability of the Genta to start using its effects. So that's on the assumption that we're up against Cash. If we're not up against Cash and you've resolved the Bigfoot effect will allow you to trigger the Rainbow, which will get you a level 5 to level 8 monster. And again, because we're going second, I would personally advise you to go for the Grapha. The reason this is so important is because you can use the Genta effect. This is going to allow you to search out the field spell, which is Gate of the Dark World. Thanks, Jerba, appreciate that. So we're going to activate the Genta. Genta will get you the Gate of the Dark World. You'll then activate the effective Gate of the Dark World to banish Genta and discard the Grepher. And I'm going to use these tokens now to symbolise how many cards we've destroyed of our opponents. So, resolve the Gate to draw you a card, then resolve the ability of your Genta and the Grepher. This will make you, or allow you to destroy one of your opponent's monsters. Now at this point, it's entirely up to you if you want to use the Book of Eclipse, or if you want to save it. Now, all you need to do is you can return the Genta to the hand, summon back the Rainbow. You can return the Rainbow to the hand, summon back the Grepher. You can then use the Genta effect again, and then all you need to do here is search out a second Gate of the Dark World, wherever it may be. There we go. Activate that Gate of the Dark World, and again you'll get an additional effect to be able to discard and draw. And this is where it gets really important, because if you want to be skipping your battle phase, you do have the ability to attempt to draw free and burn your opponent for like 2400. It's entirely up to you. Otherwise you're going to get 3 boss monsters on the board. So use Gate's effect again. You're going to discard, banish the Genta, and then it's up to you whether you want to discard the Snow or if you want to discard the Rainbow. I'm going to discard the Snow because it's going to give me a bit more advantage later on down the line. So we're going to draw 1 card, use the effect of Snow. Snow is going to search ourselves out the Dark World Archives, which is why I quite like this, especially when you've got a hand like this, because it gives you the ability to discard up to 2 cards and cause your opponent a lot of issues. So we're going to shuffle this up again. We're going to activate the Archives. You're going to use Archives effect, and this is going to allow you to discard a Dark World card, and I'm going to discard the Rainbow. This will then boost this by 800 attack, which is really nice considering it's already boosted by 300. We're then going to resolve the effect of Rainbow and the effect of Archive. So it will be Chainlink 1 Archives, Chainlink 2 Rainbow, which does mean you can discard the card you search for the Rainbow, because Archives is part of Resolution, not part as cost to discard a card. So if a monster whose original type is Fiend is discarded from your hand by a Dark World card, or an opponent's card effect, even during the damage step, that's the trigger. You discard 1 card, draw 2 cards as effect. So, because I'm able to add off of the Rainbow, and off of the Rainbow we're going to add a Grepher, we can guarantee that the Grepher can go to the graveyard to destroy another card. If we want it to, that is. So we're going to shuffle this up, and then the card off of the Archives we're going to discard is going to be... do I want Grepher for the pop, or do I want... I mean, I could even discard the Zephyros. Like, you've got quite a few options here. Is you can discard the Grepher, and that will let you pop 1 additional card. You can discard the Zephyros, and the reason the Zephyros is good is it will allow you to put the danger back into the hand. If you discard the Silver, it puts Silver on the board. You can put Silver back to the hand and bring out the Rainbow. So you've got different routes of play depending on how you want to go. Now, I feel I'm going to be able to draw a danger off of the back of this, which is absolutely fine. So I'm ultimately going to discard the Silver. So we'll discard the Silver, we'll draw 2 cards. We didn't, which is big sad, but it is what it is. Silver will come back to the board using its effect. You'll then be able to return Silver to the hand for the Rainbow. And again, you're in a very good position because your hand is still pretty stacked. We haven't committed a normal summon, so that is where the Zephyros can still be utilised to its max potential. And what you're going to want to do here is you normal summon the Zephyros, the Elite, and then all you need to do is link a couple of cards off. Now you can link back to maintain as much resource as possible, getting rid of the Grepher, and we're going to go into Cross Sheep. Now I'm going to put Cross Sheep this side so it has a free zone, and the reason you want to link off the Grepher is because you can return the Rainbow to the hand for the Grepher, meaning you have maintained as much resource as possible. Then use Zephyros of the Elite's effect to return the Bigfoot to the hand, and that then guarantees you've got a danger in the hand. Now I'm going to set the Book of Eclipse just in case this all goes to pot. I still have the ability to still do some plays. I'm also going to be able to use the Astral Karibo's effect. This is going to allow me to summon itself down and make a rank 4. So this is going to allow me to make the Daguerres. Now let me just double check the XYZ on this one. All monsters your opponent currently controls lose 700 attack. Now I'm not going to trigger that effect just yet because I want to do it when I've got the fusion. So we're going to use Daguerres' effect. We're going to detach 2, we're going to draw 2 and ditch 1. Got a Kaiju, that's pretty cool. So we will discard... Rainbow can give me a search, but doesn't really do a lot for me. I'm trying to think what else I've got in the grave. Not really a lot in the graveyard. So let's discard the Rainbow. Grepher gives me a pop. Can I discard more? Yeah, actually, let's get rid of the Grepher. Grepher's effect will trigger destroying a second card our opponent controls. Then got a lot, so I'm going to Kaiju one of my opponent's monsters. I doubt by this point my opponent has like left the monster that is going to like cause me huge issues. But like if they've held back a Dragoon Negator or they've held back a Negate for some point, that's kind of where it becomes the most effective. And then, yeah, from this point on, it's pretty much endless. So I've still got a Danger to resolve. I've got a Allure of Darkness to resolve. So like Allure of Darkness, draw 2, banish 1 will be a Genta. And then again, I've got more dangers now. So I can reveal dangers. Obviously, I've got loads of targets I want to be discarding off the back of that. I'm going to be increasing my board presence. I've got access to Borrow Sword. I've got a Grepher in the graveyard that can loop these back. As soon as I get a Rainbow to the graveyard, I can loop back resources to get him on the board. Like, it's just endless on where this can go. Darkwood is a good deck. Yeah, it was a good deck last format with tier elements because it had a way to kind of turn skip them, which was really important. It's getting a decent amount of hype right now, which is quite surprising to me because I thought it would well, it does struggle in the Kashtira matchup, but because so many decks are able to play go second cards, and that's where this deck can do really, really well, is go in second. So go in first, it can hand loop you and it can set up like a board that you can't break. Go in second, it can utilize level 8 Kaijus, it can utilize Lava Golem, and it can utilize other very powerful monsters like level 8. It doesn't rely on its normal summon, which is really important. It can play board breaking cards if it wants to as well. So it really depends on your personal preference with it. Argoron. No, it only locks you while it's on the field. So while it's on the field, I can only summon numbers. So as soon as I overlay and go into Daguerres, I'm free to do whatever I want after that point. So that's where the Astral Karibo comes into play. Jerbear, my main issue is figuring out what to side out going second game 2. Okay, going second game 2, what would I take? Well, I mean, my list is going to be different from most people's, but what would I side out going second? So if I'm guaranteed to go second, I'm going for an OTK play. So I would get rid of Ceruli, I would get rid of Silver. Where are you? I'd get rid of Silver. I have sometimes got rid of Agenta as well. It depends on what you're going to be putting in. Like, so in the cash matchup, if I'm looking to, I could then drop an Astral Karibo down by 1. If your list is the same as mine, this is what kind of like the plays I would be making. I mean, you don't need to play beige. This is just here for, well, actually, it's probably through the synchro play, so that shouldn't even really be in here, to be fair. I would cut that out. What else would we get rid of? I mean, other than that, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not a huge amount you need to take out from that point. So then let's just say, let's say these are your evenly matches. Yeah? So evenly matched, and then let's say more specific board breakers. So Lightning Storms, Raigekis, Dusters, anything else like that. So you've got 5 cards straight away. I wouldn't really, like, you don't really want to side too much. Because if you side in too much, you then kind of mess with the flow of the deck, which can be very, very dangerous. Don't you run the Dark World that destroys your opponent's spells and traps for extra tools? I don't know what one you mean. I know gold does it. Gold does 2. So gold does up to 2 cards on your opponent's side of the field. So this can do spells, traps, and monsters. I don't think... Is there a Dark World that specifically deals with spells and traps? I don't think there is. If there is, then no, I haven't got it in here. Another one that people are trying to get me to play is the Lucian, which I agree with, definitely. That can very easily be added in and played. So, anyway, good point with siding out too much versus keeping the deck consistent. You're welcome, Joe Bell. I'm hoping, like, again, I would assume that a standard list would definitely have these 3 in here, so you can kind of cut those ratios down for siding to guarantee go second, and straight away that's your evenly matches. So, one that destroys all. Unless you're talking about the original Rainbow, and if you are, the answer is no, because that card is very, very tricky to resolve. So let me just double check. Dark World. Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm pretty sure it's the original Rainbow you're talking about. Yeah, there we go. So Rainbow, Overlord of Dark World. If this card is discarded from your hand to your graveyard by an opponent's card effect, special summon this card from the graveyard. When this card is special summoned this way, destroy all monsters your opponent controls or all spells and traps they control. So I mean, you could play it, but it's just a brick. It has no, unless you discard it off of the Ceruli, which a lot of people are discarding silver off the Ceruli to hand loop. It's not really worth it. But again, that comes down to personal preference as to whether or not you want to play it that way or not. Oh, now Gate Guardian is 51% to 49%. Jeez, I'm gonna have to do I think the next stream we'll probably have to do. So, does it do spine chill bit? Anyway, but yeah, it just doesn't have a second effect, which is really annoying. So it's a little bit more restrictive. Cool. I'm going to leave that there for tonight. So we did like a mini Dark World one. I will be more than happy to update that profile for you guys as well. And then obviously we've got Pure Gate Guardian to do. I'll need to finish updating this profile as well, and then show you what we've got or what you can do with this. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit different. I kind of took a break from the Dark World content because I was doing quite a lot of it, and a lot of people was like, do something else. It's always Dark World. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely getting a lot more hype now. I definitely think it's a very good deck. It's a deck that I'm a little bit worried about for the YCS 250th, which is this weekend, purely because I think there's a lot of range. I think there's a very good range of competitive decks out there for the YCS. So it's going to be very interesting to kind of see what lands where and what gets played. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as absolutely always, I'll try and do another stream on Tuesday, and then I'll try and do another stream on Thursday, which will be the last day before YCS 250th, because obviously on the Friday I'll be travelling down to get set up and kind of, yeah, do my last little bits of testing. Anyway, have a very good evening, guys, and I will catch you all on